Hello, I'm Jan Falconer, and welcome to Not-Netflix Natters, a place where stories, family, and everyday life gives us something to think about. Let's begin. Hi, this is Not-Netflix Natters, Series 4, Episode 4. Whose voice am I hearing? Welcome to another Not-Netflix Natters. I'm Jan Falconer, an author and grandmother, and this is Not-Netflix Natters. This week, I'd like to ask a rather simple question. In a world that's full of information and opinions and increasingly sophisticated technology, how do we help children and ourselves continue to think for ourselves? Now, although AI prompted this week's reflection, this isn't really an episode about artificial intelligence, and it isn't really about social media either. It's really about something bigger. It's about agency. Every single day, we absorb information from books, newspapers, televisions, podcasts, YouTube, conversations with our friends, and increasingly, AI. None of these things are going away, and that's not really the issue. The real question is, what do we do with the information they give us? And it's quite an abundance. One of the most interesting conversations I've had recently was with my granddaughter about AI. Like many people, she simply assumed it simply does everything for you. And if you've never used it, that's actually quite an understandable assumption. But that's not how I use it. I ask questions. I challenge the answers. I also ask for evidence. Sometimes I disagree completely. Sometimes I ask exactly the same question in a different way. And sometimes I reject the first answer altogether. At the end of the day, I'm still responsible for what I write, what I publish, and what I choose to believe. The tool helps me think. It doesn't remove my responsibility to think. One of the ideas we've explored throughout Not-Netflix Natters is that children are natural scientists. I've said this before because I truly and genuinely believe it. They observe. They experiment. They ask why. They test ideas. Perhaps being an adult shouldn't mean losing that curiosity. Perhaps it simply means learning to ask better questions. For the past 3 years, I've volunteered to judge entries to the Queen's Commonwealth essay competition, and it reminds me of something important. After a while, I stop asking whether an essay is beautifully written. Instead, I find myself asking a completely different question. Whose voice am I hearing? Has this young person genuinely wrestled with these ideas, or are they simply repeating somebody else's words? You know, that same question applies everywhere. It applies to books, television, newspapers, podcasts, social media, and AI. Not because any of those things are inherently good or bad, but because every source deserves thoughtful engagement. Here's the thing. One of the things I actually appreciate is that even AI reminds us not to accept everything without a question. The responsibility never disappears. I rather like that. It feels like quite a good lesson for life. The same applies to newspapers, social medias, rumours, conversations, and of course, to all of us. We have to question. We have to check We have to think. Sometimes it can feel as though information simply happens to us. But we still have choices. We choose what to watch. We choose what we read. We choose whether we listen or not. We choose whether to ask another question or not. And we choose whether to accept the first answer or look just a little deeper. Now, of course, there are many things that are beyond our control. We can't control what other people think, much as we sometimes might like to. We simply can't. We can't control every headline. We can't control every new technology that appears. But we can choose how thoughtfully we respond. And that is agency. Perhaps one of the greatest gifts we can give children isn't teaching them to have all the answers. I'm not certain about you, but I certainly don't have all of mine. Perhaps the greater gift is helping children become confident enough to keep asking questions. Because the future won't belong to the people who simply repeat information. It will belong to people who remain curious. People who keep learning, who keep questioning, and who never forget that their own judgment still matters. Until next time, take care. Thank you for joining me today. If you've enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, visit my website, and explore the books. Until next time, take care.